The Buffalo Bills 2023 draft class has officially reached contract extension eligibility, and 3 years later, we have a pretty good idea of how this draft class has panned out. Some picks became keys on this roster, and others have not. Today, I'm ranking 3 players that Brandon Beane should be extending this offseason, while quickly going over 3 players that did not work out at all for the Buffalo Bills. So before we get to the good, we have to look at the bad, and the 3 busts in this Buffalo Bills 2023 draft class were Justin Shorter, Nick Broker, and Alex Austin. Now, when it comes to Justin Shorter, he was just a 5th-round developmental pick. He was a freak athlete, which is why the Buffalo Bills took him. Unfortunately, we took him over Puka Nacua, who would have been a lot better of a pick, as you guys all know. Justin Shorter just never worked out in Buffalo. He never had a role in at wide receiver, never developed to be the route runner. We hope that he could be one day. When it comes to Nick Broker, he was just a developmental offensive lineman who the Bills just kind of threw a flyer out on to try to get a good backup offensive lineman. Unfortunately, did not work out for Nick Broker. And as for Alex Austin, he actually shined a little bit in that first preseason with the Buffalo Bills. But then in the end of training camp, the Bills cut him, tried to get him back on the practice squad, but he ended up getting picked up by the New York Giants. And I believe that last year was with both the Giants and the New England Patriots. So Alex Austin being passed around the league just a little bit. But all in all, none of these 3 players worked out. But fortunately for Buffalo, the rest of this draft class, Fortunately for Buffalo, the draft class did not end there, though. So while those 3 picks never worked out, Brandon Beane did find 3 players who did work out for the Buffalo Bills, and we'll be ranking them based on how likely or how much I want the Bills to extend these 3 players. And at number 3 is going to be linebacker Dorian Williams. Now, this is probably going to be the most debated player on this list because he's still trying to establish himself as a starting linebacker in this Buffalo Bills defense. But with the current competition at the position, including rookie Caleb Elam-Zor, nothing is really guaranteed, but I still think that he is worth extending. He's also very good at stepping in when needed. When Terrell Bernard went down with injury or Matt Milano went down with injury, Dorian Williams was able to step in and at least play competent linebacker for the Buffalo Bills. Now, obviously, with a brand new defense, 3-4 defensive scheme with Jim Leonard, we can't say that, oh, he knows the defensive system, that's why he's going to be good in this defense. However, I think that his play style actually fits better with Jim Leonard's style of defense, so he's just a natural fit on the defensive side of the ball for the team. He's also pretty reliable. He's not injured too much. Obviously, he suffered an injury in the last game of the season last year against the Denver Broncos on the opening kickoff, a neck injury, which kept him out for the rest of the game. Earlier this offseason, he suffered an injury, which led him to being out for all of voluntary OTAs. So hopefully he's healthy for training camp because he needs to really be good to carve out that starting role in this Bills defense with Caleb Elam-Zor kind of fighting for his spot. But in a similar way to Cam Lewis a couple of years ago, because of Dorian Williams' special teams ability, I believe that he should be getting rewarded with a contract extension. Maybe not that big 3-year, 4-year deal, maybe a 1 to 2-year contract extension, because you know that he will be a good contributor on special teams, and we know just how important that is to this Buffalo Bills team. Maybe that will change with Sean McDermott on his way out, but I really do not think so. So if the contract makes sense, I believe that Dorian Williams is a winning football player who you want to keep around on the team. But as for these next 2 guys, they are not like Dorian Williams, where they're trying to fight for a spot on this roster. They're going to be extended because of special teams. These next 2 guys are key players on the team who the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion, need to extend. Now, just about 5 years ago, the Bills' offensive line was one of our biggest weaknesses. But in the last couple of years, specifically since 2022, the offensive line has been one of the biggest strengths on this team. And one of the reasons for that is because of 2023 draft pick O'Cyrus Torrence. He has slotted in at right guard ever since his rookie year, being the starter, and he has been absolutely phenomenal. In 3 years over the course of his NFL career, he has only allowed 6 sacks, allowing 3 this year, 0 in 2024, and 3 in his rookie season. He's extremely reliable. He has not missed really any game. Sorry, I forgot that I have these player stats I can put at the bottom of the screen. So Dorian Williams, I'm sorry, buddy. But as for O'Cyrus Torrence and this next guy, you'll have their stats on the screen. You guys see O'Cyrus Torrence's stats right here. He's played in 51 career games, started 50 of them, allowed only 6 sacks, 14 penalties over the course of his career. However, he only had 1 penalty in 2025, so he really worked on that part of his game, which I absolutely love to see. As for his PFF grades, we have a 59.9 PFF grade, which is 44th best, 54.6 run blocking grade, which is 58th best, a 64 pass blocking grade, which is 32nd best in the NFL. But I really believe that those stats are not really the whole story. He has been really reliable and really good for this Buffalo Bills offensive line. Now, obviously, the offensive line is one of the biggest identities for this Bills offense. In 2024, they protected for Josh Allen, who won the MVP. Last year, they were the offensive line for James Cook being the rushing champ. And now David Edwards, obviously, who's our starting left guard, he is gone. He went to the New Orleans Saints because he got an absolute bag. However, Osiris Torrence is a guy who I think that the Bills need to keep around, especially because he's going to be even more important to this unit now that David Edwards is gone on the other side of the offensive line. Now, elite offensive linemen are making around $20 million in the league. Now, I made a YouTube short on this yesterday. Is Osiris Torrence worth it? And my short answer was basically yes. So if the market is saying he's going to be making $20 million, I think Osiris Torrence will be next. But as important as Osiris Torrence has been to this Bills team, I still think there is one player that Brandon Beane must prioritize extending over him. I understand why some fans could still want Osiris Torrence to be the number one priority for the Buffalo Bills to extend, but for me, that is going to be tight end Dalton Kincaid. He is an absolute dog on the offensive side of the ball. We'll get into his stats really quickly right here. He's played in 41 career games. He has 156 career receptions, 1,692 yards over his career, and 9 touchdowns, including 5 just last season. As far as PFF grades go last year, he had an 81.9 PFF grade, which is third best among all tight ends, and an 81.9 receiving grade, which is seventh best among all tight ends. So Dalton Kincaid, the big thing with him is his underlying metrics are absolutely phenomenal. And when you see him play football, he passes the eye test with flying colors. But obviously, the big problem with Dalton Kincaid is that injuries have slowed him down thus far in his career. He missed 5 games last year. He has missed games at other points in his career in his first 2 seasons. He has been dealing with a nagging knee injury for the last 2 seasons, one that he should probably be getting surgery on, but he's opting not to. So Kincaid, the big concern with him is going to be his injuries. However, last year in the NFL playoffs, when he finally got healthy against the Denver Broncos in that unfortunate loss in the playoffs, we would be talking about that as the Dalton Kincaid breakout game if it was not for the loss. He had 6 receptions for 83 yards and a touchdown in a big playoff game, including catching a game-leading touchdown in the fourth quarter of that game before the Bills unfortunately choked that one away. But Kincaid, he is just absolutely phenomenal. He is also a tight end, which I don't think people understand that tight ends normally develop later in their careers compared to like wide receivers or running backs, just because of the fact of that they have to kind of impact the game in so many ways, receiving, blocking, or run blocking, pass blocking, chipping, all this kind of stuff. That is why tight ends kind of develop later into their careers. Now, over the last 2 days, Kyle Pitts and Brenton Strange have both signed huge extensions. Kyle Pitts, he got a $56 million extension with $36 million guaranteed. So could we see Kincaid, if he has a big season, kind of fight for a bigger contract like a Kyle Pitts, kind of reset the market? We can see that. We also saw Brenton Strange sign a deal for around $15 million per season, which I think that is probably more in the realm of possibility for Kincaid just because of his injury history. But also with Kincaid, he did sign the 5th-year option. So he, unlike Torrence, unlike Dorian Williams, he does have 2 years left on his contract, so we don't have to give him the extension after this year. But I think that we'd be smart to get after it right now because we know that he's going to have a big season next year, especially if he stays healthy. And he's going to just want more money if we continue to wait. And obviously, Josh Allen and him are best friends, so I don't see why he would not be sticking around on this team. So a healthy Dalton Kincaid kind of changes the game for this Bills offense. And if I were Brandon Beane, I'll be making sure that my number one priority this offseason for extending players would definitely have to be Dalton Kincaid. So looking back at the 2023 draft class, it obviously was not perfect. We only had 2 guys who are really making an impact on the team. One guy who was a special teamer in Dorian Williams, and 3 busts in Justin Shorter, Nick Broker, and Alex Austin, who never even really cracked the roster. The Buffalo can keep Osiris Torrence, Dalton Kincaid, and Dorian Williams in a Bills uniform. This draft could still be remembered as a success. But now, Bills fans, I want to hear from you. Which player would you extend first? And is there anyone else that you would rank differently? Do you want Osiris Torrence to be the number one priority? Or do you even want Dorian Williams to somehow be the number one priority? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you've made it this far into the video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And turn on post notifications so you never miss another Buffalo Bills video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.